What's up, everybody? King Triple C here, the Olympic champion, flyweight champion, the bantamweight champion of the world. And I got a public service announcement to all you wannabe MMA casuals or MMA fans for that reason. You guys make sure to listen to my boy Story of the Fight with Will and Miro. You know why? Because Triple C said so. And if you don't, you can do me a favor and you can bend the knee to King Triple C 2.
So Yana Kunitskaya. I didn't know she was dating Thiago Santos.
Oh, no shit, really?
Yeah, some would say the
Good for
uncrowned
Thiago Santos.
Yeah, good for her, dude. Come on, that dude's a
Yeah,
piece.
props to both of them.
Yeah,
Both of them.
yeah,
Little cutie pies.
yeah, that'll kill you. So she tweeted that you saw the tweet, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
about
so she tweeted
USADA.
her and Tiago. So Tiago and I spent 2 months in Russia, and then 6 in Brazil. USADA did not test us once. My first week in the U.S. and I've already been tested. Makes me wonder if all the athletes training outside of the United States are being tested regularly.
I mean, that's a really good question.
It's a great question.
At least right now, right? With all the COVID stuff going on, I think that you had mentioned on our last podcast that some folks were reporting getting like home kits.
Yeah.
Right? Like, here's a cup. Here's a mailback address, and
yeah.
you know,
Make sure
like,
you put tape on the calf.
Yeah, make sure it's nice and tight.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's just a thing that's going on temporarily, because we have seen athletes from Brazil specifically, get suspended by USADA.
Yeah.
I know Chicano, Junior Dos Santos. We're talking
But I think
Anderson Silva.
But JDS, doesn't he live in Florida and he trains in Florida?
Oh, that's a good point. How about Anderson Silva?
Yeah, Anderson Silva, another story.
Right, but if I remember correctly, with Junior Dos Santos, his was a tainted pharmaceutical from a pharmacy in Brazil, if I remember correctly. So he got stuff from Brazil.
Yeah, and then Vanderlei, when he ran from the testers, was that in Brazil? You remember that?
Yeah, I don't remember if it's in Brazil or not, but that's a fantastic story.
I know. But so you may say, because I thought that too. Like, obviously, logistically, right now, it's hard for USADA to get around. But then you go back to, did you see when The Athletic did that super, not confidential, what is it when you, anonymous. It was like an anonymous survey they did for like a ton of fighters in the UFC. They asked them a bunch of questions, and then they like posted all their results. It was super interesting. Did you see that or no?
No, I didn't.
So one of the things, go ahead.
The thing I've seen more than anything is just the amount that certain athletes get tested, right? Like, I believe Holly Holmes, if I remember correctly, gets tested all the time, right? And I would love to see what their criteria is for who it is that they select.
Yeah, so I have another thing for that too. But so in the athletics thing, they said one fairly common refrain was the perceived inadequacies in policing fighters based outside of the U.S. And then this is a quote saying, "There are people who live in Russia and aren't tested," a UFC fighter said. "There are people who go to Thailand and aren't tested. It's a way of bypassing the anti-doping testing. That's the truth. Everybody who goes to Russia, to Thailand, to do camps, they do it to dope, to take steroids." And then they say, added another UFC competitor, "I truly feel like there are a lot of foreign fighters still getting away with stuff. I'm hugely in support of drug testing. They can test me whenever they want to. I just want it to be the same for everyone." So this is something that fighters are already kind of talking about. This was from a few months back that they posted this. Kunitskaya posted this today, her tweet. So they kind of go hand in hand. They like both make sense. And then, so it is interesting. You see fighters going and do camps. They do camps everywhere. I'm not gonna say any names in this.
That's a big accusation, though, for them to say any fighter that goes into Russia or Thailand is doing that to dope.
Yeah, and I think obviously that's hyperbole. There's no way
Yeah.
that everybody's doing that just to dope. You know, if I wanted to train my Muay Thai, and I could choose, and money wasn't an issue,
Thailand.
I'm gonna go to Thailand. You know.
If you want to wrestle bears, you go to Russia.
You go to Russia. Exactly.
Everybody knows this.
Everybody knows this. These are things they teach you in grade school. But
exactly.
Another thing that you talked about where you said, what's the criteria for testing?
Yeah.
Like Holly Holmes gets tested like 20 times a week or whatever. Robert Whittaker, when he was still the champ a few years ago, he said that he only recently 2 years ago, started getting tested more frequently once he became champ. He said when he was first starting, he never even got tested. So there's all these people who are just starting in the sport, trying to make a name for themselves, who are arguably the people that are going to have the most temptations to take steroids are the people trying to.
Yeah, they want to make a name for themselves.
Exactly.
They want to get these victories.
And those are the people that aren't really getting tested by the UFC. So
conspiracy, maybe?
Well, no, I don't know about that. I think it largely just is about logistics. They can't be. There's how many people on the roster now? They can't be testing all of them randomly, you know.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is the random drug tests. And another thing Robert Whittaker was saying was that the random drug test thing, they show up wherever you're supposed to be. If you're at your house, blah blah blah, whatever, and you're not there, you get a warning. And then say it happens again, you get another warning, and then you get punished a third time. So you get two warnings.
Nick Diaz.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but you get two warnings where it's like, oh shit, this is still in my system. I'm actually not home. Sorry, I missed you. And they say, okay, but next time we're gonna give you another warning. It's like,
so you're conveniently not home when you know that there's something still in your system.
Yeah.
Right. Gives you some
John
time
Jones,
to clear out.
Certain fighters hiding under the cage when they show up. Yeah, we don't know where he is.
Certain fighters. Yeah, exactly. Word on the streets is that certain fighters hid under the cage so long that they pissed under the cage because they had to use the restroom and they didn't want to come out while USADA was still there.
Exactly. Certain fighters. They didn't know where he was. Where is he?
No, and with USADA, when they first started coming into the sport, I thought it was going to be really good. Right? I thought, okay, an opportunity to clean up the sport. And I think it was pretty obvious, right, which fighters were using steroids at the time, and we were kind of oblivious to it. And in some cases, we kind of knew in the back of our heads, but just let it go, like Ubrim.
Yeah.
Right? You have a TRT Vitor.
Yeah.
You have a lot of other fighters that you had a feeling were just juiced to the gills.
They didn't pass the eye test.
Yeah, but, we just enjoyed watching them fight. Ubrim's physiques never looked the same.
Yeah.
Right? TRT Vitor, as soon as he stops with TRT and the juice, he turns into dad bod Vitor, like in a week.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Eric Silva was another one.
Yeah, and I don't want to accuse anybody, but I also take a look at your, like Anthony Pettis, for example. If you take a look at pre-USADA and post-USADA, there's a big difference in his physique. And, again, a list of fighters that just makes you wonder. But then as time started going by and the inconsistencies I started seeing with USADA kind of made me upset that they were still around. Like at first, really happy, let's clean up the sport. Now, we just have to pick how strict we're going to be, I guess. And I know that there's an evolution to this as well, an evolution of testing, new drugs that they're discovering. It's a cat and mouse game, right? You're going to have people in the lab that's going to continue trying to come up with different things that fighters and athletes can get away with, and you have USADA trying to play catch-up. But for me, I take a look at like UFC 200, where to me, one of the biggest suspensions ever came in UFC 200 when I want to say it was like 2 days before John Jones gets popped, and he gets suspended. But then on the exact same card, you have Brock Lesnar, who is juiced more than anybody.
Yeah.
And somehow he gets past these tests, and then it wasn't until after the fight and after the UFC rakes in all this cash off of Brock's name where they're like, oh, wait a second, this guy failed 2 drug tests. Where did this come from?
Yeah.
I need consistency.
And here, by the way, you're going to be suspended even though you're retiring anyways, and also we're going to fine you, but you don't have to pay it. You just have to pay the fine if you want to come back. And he's like, see you later. Cool.
And that's what,
and Mark Hunt's
and that's why I could see why Mark Hunt is so upset.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because somebody had to have known this guy was juice. So you have this big name that is retired,
notorious
right?
from a sport that is everybody's juicing.
Whoa, bro, calm down. You're gonna get Matt Mateo really upset, okay? But yes, notorious for sport that's all known for juicing.
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you?
For decades.
Yeah.
And yet here we go. We let him fight, putting Mark Hunt in danger. I mean, he's already in danger going into fights, right? But still, I mean, this guy is coming in with lunchbox hands.
Yeah.
You know, and you still have this guy be juiced. It's just. Again, inconsistencies with USADA. It makes me so upset. And then we have some big names that are leaving the sport, such as Brock. Connor is up and down. So all of a sudden, John Jones has his picograms that are going up and down. So now they're like, wait, you were suspended at first, but now it looks like you're still failing tests, but it's for this oddball reason that's pretty rare.
Yeah.
So you're still going to test positive every once in a while, but you good.
Yeah.
You good, man.
It sets up an excuse for him to do whatever he wants, really, in the future. If the UFC wants to be on his side for that situation, you know.
They set a precedent with John Jones. That moment that they let him fight when he failed those drug tests, they set it up so that other fighters can now say the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Or they have something to push back on now.
Mm-hmm. We have seen it be mentioned now with other fighters. So,
I mean, now we go from USADA going in, cleaning up the sport. We saw some big moves, some big names too, man. They weren't holding back. Like I said, Junior Dos Santos, Chad Mendes, Josh Barnett,
Anderson Silva.
You name it. Anderson Silva, Nick Diaz, my boy, man. I was so upset. You know, and...
For weed.
Oh, dude. Yeah. But for him, it was for his whereabouts.
Oh, well, that too.
You have,
but also weed.
True, also weed. But you have this wild guy who already likes to do whatever he wants to do, and you're going to suspend him for a year because you didn't know where he was 3 times?
Yeah.
And if I were to pick any fighters who I thought were clean in the UFC, Nate and Nick would be first on my list.
Yeah. Well, you see that with Nate testing positive for metabolites, and then they clear him 2 days later.
Yes. Because he said this is BS.
Yeah.
Right?
They
did
knew
he threaten
exactly
to
what he came
retire? Yeah. But again, inconsistency.
Yeah.
Right? And then with Josh Barnett, he's fighting, right? And he finally wins his arbitration against USADA after 1 year. And the thing that I start thinking about is this gentleman's livelihood. You suspended him for an extended period of time. And then after he wins arbitration, what did he get in return? Nothing.
Yeah.
They're like, dude, my bad. You know what? You were clean. Hey, everybody, this guy was clean. Let's try to clear your name. But once USADA tests you for anything, there's always that stain on your name.
Yeah.
So, again, I'm at a point right now with USADA where with inconsistencies, people getting tested in the United States, Holly Holm getting tested, like you said, 20 times a week, and then nobody in Brazil or Russia getting tested. You know my boy Putin over there has some type of doping system in place right now because he knows that
you get banned from the Olympics.
Oh, have you seen Icarus?
Yeah.
Oh, such a good documentary.
I know.
I was hooked.
Yeah.
I was hooked. But right away, that got me thinking. You know, they have stuff in place, and I'm sure it's not just in Russia, man. I take a look at Zhang Weili. Did I say it right this time?
Zhang.
Ah, shit. I'll get there.
Yeah.
Zhang Weili.
There you go. You got that.
Yeah. And again, I start thinking about the Chinese sporting programs that they have over there. They've also been known to try to push the envelope and see what they can get away with.
Well, you look at like the powerlifting
with this physique.
Yeah, the powerlifting teams at the top. Everybody, they're just big, bulky, kind of like rounder dudes. You know.
Yep.
Just built specifically for that, and then you see like the Chinese top athletes, and they're just like ripped gods, and it's like, wait, why you don't? So something's going on, you know.
Something's going on. So again, it makes me wonder where else this is spreading, because we've seen it before through these documentaries already that governments are known to get involved. For some of these governments, having these large names means a lot to them.
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal, man. Zhang Wei Li, right now, I'm sure is close.
Close.
All right. is a massive superstar in China.
Got to be huge.
We know Nurmagomedov is a god in Russia.
Yep.
So they love their superstar athletes that are able to break into the United States and make a name for themselves and represent their country in the United States, and they're willing to do anything it takes to make that happen.
Yeah.
So USADA, you're either going to be consistent, test in the United States, test in Thailand, test in Brazil, test in Russia, or just don't test at all. Bring back Ubrim, re-sign TRT Vitor, and let's have at it.
Yeah.
Make it an even playing field.
The other thing that I don't know, did you watch the last time GSP was on Rogan's podcast?
Where he talked about how the things that turn him on are dinosaurs and the fear in a man's face.
Yeah.
Yes.
He talked about how he knows there's USADA loopholes. And what he said, and it's funny you mentioned Josh Barnett, because there's a good video of GSP talking on Rogan about how to cheat this specific way, and then it cuts right to Barnett on Rogan explaining how he was innocent, and it's the exact he did exactly the same thing GSP said is the way to cheat the system. So it makes him look really guilty. But basically he says even now it's still easy to cheat. Let's say I want to have an injection of a product that will last in my body for 2 days or 1 day, whatever the half-life is, right? Because some things are out of your system super quick.
Really quick.
Yeah, so I know that particular day I can't be tested, because if I do get tested, I'm screwed. So I put on my USADA whereabouts, that I'm traveling to some place, some country, some vacation type thing that sounds believable, and he'll be back in 2 days. That substance will stay in my body for a certain period of time, but the effect of it will last maybe a month. And now it's a performance-enhancing drug. So you can go ahead and say, I'm going to take this. It's in my system for a week. I'm just going to tell USADA I'm going on a vacation somewhere. It takes them time to catch up to go test you once you start your vacation, wherever you're going. And then by the time you come back, or by the time they get somebody to you, it's already out of your system. So
yeah.
And with them, it's super easy. They can pick like somewhere in Thailand to go train for a week. I mean, right behind you, Chris Cyborg, remember, called the cops on a USADA tester when she was in Thailand. So
Tim Kennedy pulled the gun out on one of the USADA testers.
Yeah, I remember that at his door. Yeah.
You remember that?
But yeah, I think that was the story, was he pulled the gun, but I think it was more he answered the door with the gun because it was like a weird time in the morning or something. But it wasn't like he opened the door and was like, "Who the fuck are you?" You know?
Yeah, no, it was super early in the morning, and he said that. I mean, it's really hard to get it into his house or whatever. And he said anybody that comes in knocking on my door, like the police, at a certain time or whatever, he's gonna answer the door with a weapon. You know what I mean? So again, all American guy.
Yeah, get it.
You gotta protect your property, bro.
Yeah. If you have the means to.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so there's loopholes. But then, so what I want to ask you is, do you think, and you kind of touched on it already, but do you think that we'd say, okay, there's loopholes, but ultimately they are making it harder for people to drug test or to take drugs. So they do help at a certain level, whether or not it's now the sport's clean, not necessarily, but do you think it's still worth having for all these inconveniences for these fighters, even though it's not perfect? Because I do think that when you look at other sports, other mainstream sports, I do think that even with USADA's flaws, I think that the UFC at least does a much better job than most sports as far as like keeping it as clean as possible. Because like you said, it's always cat and mouse. You're never going to be able to completely clean it.
Yeah.
But the goal should be at least to be as clean as possible, you know?
Yeah, I get it. And I do think that we need stricter testing than what it was before USADA came along. Again, my issue comes in where USADA tests some of these superstars like a John Jones.
Yeah.
And these issues continue popping up, and they've essentially given them a free pass to continue failing tests.
Yeah.
And continue fighting.
Yeah.
So I don't care what anybody else says, right? They continue saying, well, it's picograms this, picograms that. This is something that stays in your body, and, it flares up, and then it goes away. Well, I mean, what is that doing to his chemistry, to his body chemistry? And how is that helping him in any way, shape, or form? And I think that there is a lot of fighters that are still finding loopholes. Mm-hmm. And Cody Garbrandt, in a way, gave himself up, and the rest of Team Alpha Male, I don't know if you remember, when he was arguing with TJ Dillashaw, and he was telling him that he was doping.
Yeah.
And he's like, I've never doped. He's like, yes, you have. You showed me and the rest of Team Alpha Male how to do it, so you can't say you don't know how to dope.
Yeah.
And then everybody's like, wait. Can you rewind it just a little bit? Did you just say you and Team Alpha? And then it makes sense, right? Chad Mendes got busted too.
Mm-hmm. Try to blame it on his psoriasis cream.
Yeah, on that psoriasis cream, man.
Yeah.
Just like Frank Mir blamed it on the kangaroo meat.
The kangaroo meat, and John Jones on dick pills.
All these weird reasons, right? All these weird reasons. So all I'm saying is, if you're going to stick around, I'm fine with it. Are you cleaning up the sport more than it was before? Yes. Are you inconveniencing fighters? I think so, but I think we also have to come up with a way to make it consistent across the board.
Yeah.
Right? Again, I don't understand why certain fighters get tested so many times, and there's fighters that go months without being tested. Mm-hmm. And they're going after the champions, the folks that have made a name for themselves, and you brought up the fact that they're not really testing new up-and-coming fighters. I mean, when would be a better time to draw a line in the sand for your fighters coming in than when they're first coming in?
Yeah. Well, it's like Johnny Walker.
We're putting our foot down.
Yeah, I remember Johnny Walker, people found on his Instagram when he first signed with the UFC, because now everybody has to go way past people's social media days and see if they've ever tweeted something politically incorrect or something, but they found him. He posted a picture of like straight up steroids supplements that sponsored him, and he posted a picture of it. He wasn't in the UFC at the time, but it's like
is he like holding something like Malco?
No, it's like a picture of his table full of like a stack. You can find it online. It's pretty funny.
Ah, jeez.
I'll find it and put it on the video.
All right. Well, hey, again, I'm for USADA. Let's continue testing. Let's continue making the sport as clean as possible. But let's be consistent. I don't care if this is a champion or somebody coming into the UFC the first time. They all need to know that they're not above the sport. Mm-hmm. Nobody's individual name is bigger than the sport. And if you're going to have USADA be consistent with it, like, don't give USADA a black eye.
Yeah.
So now whenever they test somebody or somebody fails, or they're like, oh, but it's USADA and USADA's inconsistent.
Yeah, it's weird because the whole like innocent until proven guilty thing for like legal issues, that's usually what you think. Like if someone gets an accusation gets thrown out against somebody legally, you say, okay, let's just wait till we hear all the facts, and we can judge them then. But with drug testing, it used to be in sports, if you tested positive, it was immediately, yep, they're guilty, they tested positive. But now it's like every time someone gets announced that they've popped, everybody's like, let's just wait though, because we have all these examples where it wasn't actually the case, so let's just hear it out first. It's crazy that that's the immediate reaction now. And
again, that's just due to USADA.
Yeah.
You can't blame anybody else, right? And I know that you have, what's the golden snitch, his name again?
Nowitzki.
Mm-hmm. You have Nowitzki, who he's not an employee of the UFC, if I remember correctly. Is he?
I think now he's not even. I don't think he's technically with USADA anymore. I think he does have a position with the UFC. It's like fighter relations or something like that.
Okay, yeah, you're right. It's the other way around.
Yeah.
And that's what threw me off, because you have Nowitzki, and we would all turn towards Nowitzki as this super clean guy, right?
Yeah.
Who's gonna help clean up the sport. But now, knowing that he works for the UFC, I mean, is he more of a company guy now? Is he somebody that's gonna help UFC get past some of these issues, like John Jones and some of these other fighters that they need to continue putting on cards?
Yeah.
When the whole Nate Diaz thing happened, again, I'm super confident that Nate Diaz is clean.
Mm-hmm. But in the back of your mind.
But yeah.
That was a big fight too. It was like 2 days before the BMF belt That was huge for the UFC.
Masvidal fight.
Yeah. So.
And again, another example where a big name, if we pull this big name, it's going to really damage his card. It's going to hurt the bottom line. And I'm sure Nowitzki at this point doesn't want it to hurt the bottom line. Guess who's signing his paychecks?
Yeah.
Right? So it's important that this company continues growing for the UFC and in this case for Nowitzki's sake.
Yeah.
You know, if he wants to continue getting paid by the UFC.
Yeah. The other thing that it doesn't it happened once, but that doesn't mean it's always going to happen like this. But counterpoint to that is, remember when one of the times that John Jones tested positive, he was supposed to fight DC, he pulls out. I think it might have been UFC 200 when it was, yeah.
It was UFC 200.
And there's that video.
I'll never forget, man, watching DC crying.
Yeah, and he's
when
like,
he got the news,
he's like, can I sign a waiver? Like, I'll fight him. Can we just sign a waiver? And that was before it was announced. They went and told him. So in that situation, the UFC could have been like, yeah, let's get him a waiver. Let's not tell anybody about this. Let's just he can sign this waiver. He's willing to fight him. But they didn't.
They should have gone Mark Hunt to sign that waiver.
Yeah.
That's what they should have done.
Yeah.
Dude's still fighting for his money to this day, I think.
Yeah, he's still in that lawsuit. But yeah.
Yeah, so.
Just crazy. I think that pretty much touches on everything that I wanted to talk about. I just saw that this morning and it was like, holy shit.
Same.
You know?
Yeah, crazy. And I'm glad we talked about it, man, because I'm super passionate about this, and it's so funny because, again, whenever we hear anything like this popping up with USADA, there's always a bunch of things running through my mind, so I'm glad I got to talk to you about it and kind of just share it with whoever listens.
Yeah, same. I saw this morning and was like, can't really talk about this to anybody else. Nobody else is going to understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah, if I try to talk to Mindy, my wife, about it, she's going to be like, you don't care about USADA.
Yeah.
Don't talk to me about this, you know what I mean?
Yeah, Giannis what? Kunis what?
Oh, man.
Alrighty. Definitely.
All right, thanks for listening, everybody. Please don't forget to subscribe. Hit the little bell next to the subscription button. Don't forget to leave comments. Let us know what you think about the show.
Yeah, and you can follow us on Story of the Fight on Instagram. And if you have any questions about anything or there's something that you want us to talk about, you can email us at storyofthefight@gmail.com.